So how I got this revelation and how this revelation came to me was during work. I deliver. I deliver flowers. So some of my shifts would be 15 hours, 16 hours, 17 hours, mainly about 15 hours on average. So when I was driving, I would just talk to Holy Spirit. Now, Holy Spirit is the main aspect to this understanding and this teaching. Talking to Holy Spirit is vital. As Jesus was to the 12 disciples, so is Holy Spirit to us now. That's why Jesus says it's better that I leave. Because when Jesus was here in the physical form, he wasn't able to be all places at once. But now that he has sent Holy Spirit, it's like Jesus is everywhere at once, teaching all people intimately one-on-one at once, all over the world. So yeah, I got this revelation from Holy Spirit. I do have people who have influenced me. I believe their message was from the Holy Spirit. So I'll give those influences at the end of the teaching. And not to say that I've called them up and they've approved this message, but to say they have influenced me in their teaching. I haven't got their approval, so just want to throw that out there. Okay, so breaking down, what I'm going to be doing is breaking down spirit, soul, and body, and heart. I feel like heart is a huge aspect to understanding the new man, because it's like a key to the vehicle which you're trying to operate in. So Watchman Nee, when he talks about the spirit, soul, and body, he likens it to a light bulb, right? Try to make it as clear as possible. So the body would represent the physical matter, which is the light bulb itself. Like the light bulb, the wiring, and everything that makes up the physical part of the light bulb. Okay, that would be the body. The electricity that runs through, let me just put a wire. The electricity that runs through the wire would be the spirit. Okay? And what is made of the two coming together is the light, which is the soul. So when God made Adam, he had a body which he formed out of the dust. He blew into it his spirit, which was from his breath, and those two coming together created the soul. Okay? Now that's why I give you an example. The body is likened to the light bulb. The spirit is likened to the electricity that goes through the light bulb. And the light that is emitted is likened to the soul, right? And I'm going to go over the spirit, soul, and body. I'm going to break them down to help you understand how they function. Now, again, you got to understand, without the spirit that is within the person, without the electricity, you don't have the light. Without the bulb, you don't have you can't have the electricity go through anything. So it's not able to make anything. That's why people die. They either have a broken bulb, which causes them to die, or they have the electricity source that's not going through. Therefore, the soul is no more. The soul, not that it completely disappears. It either goes to heaven or to hell, but just to help you understand. Now I'm going to go over, again, I'm going to start off by going over what you are not. Okay? Now, and again, I'm going to be talking about taking every imagination that holds itself above, exalts itself above the knowledge of God. So I'm going to start off by going over the flesh. Right? Now, if you have a notebook and you could take notes, I highly recommend that you pull out your notebook and start taking notes. If at any point you need to pause the video to catch up or to read the Bible verses that I've been going over, do that. completely. I think that'd be amazing. Again, I'm really trying to help you spiritually mature so that we could expand the kingdom, because I know Jesus is coming soon. The reason God gave me such an urgency to give out this video is not for my benefit, but for the benefit of the kingdom. I mean, if I was trying to make it for my benefit, I would really I don't know, I'd probably charge or do something to where it benefited me in some manner. But really, I got this from God, and God's really been pushing me to do this. So the flesh. How God has revealed to me the flesh is broken down into 3 parts. Now these parts don't necessarily stand dependent of each other, but it's really how God has showed it to me. So let me go off my notes. So it's a 3-part composition. Now the first part is the 5 senses. Now mainly when you hear somebody talk about a cardinal person, a cardinal Christian, they live off the 5 senses. And I'm going to be abbreviating here so that I don't have to take up too much room on this chalkboard. So, do your best to listen. Again, rewind the video if you have to. 5 senses, which is taste, smell, sight, hearing, and touch. Right? Those are what you get from the 5 senses. You go by what you see, you go by what you hear, you go by what you touch, what you smell, and what you taste. Number 2 is the human brain. Human brain. Which in the Greek word for human brain, oftentimes it refers to the flesh as the cardinal mind. The certain translations will call it the sinful nature. King James is what calls it the flesh. So if you have a translation such as the NLT or the NIV, when you see flesh, you'll probably see sinful nature, cardinal mind, cardinal man, or what have you. Just depending on your translation. But the word carnal is translated into the Greek numerical value 4561, which is sarx. Which basically means the flesh, the body of human origin, basically the meat. So if somebody, as Andrew Womack said, if somebody's being carnally minded, they're basically being a meathead. You know what I mean? They're thinking of the meat part of their brain. This is the control center. The reason why this is so important to God and how He revealed it to me is because this is the control center of your flesh, right? The human brain. If you take off my scalp, you'd see the meat part of my brain. That's what you're talking about with the human brain. Third, which is, I feel, the most important and how people see themselves, is the anatomy. The anatomy of both the macro and the micro, which what I mean by that is the things you can see and the things you cannot see, right? A lot of times people, when they judge themselves in who they are, they will go off such attributes as height, weight, their shape, skin color, their hair type, muscular structure, bone structure, etc. They'll look into the mirror and they'll identify themselves as what they see in the mirror. Now that's the flesh. Again, this is the old man. This might be who you once were, but it is no longer who you are now. This is part of who you're not. So when you look into the mirror, when you say like, oh, I am this, I am that, actually you're identifying yourself with the flesh. If anything, you should say, my body is this, or my body looks good, or my body looks this way. It's something you own, but it's not who you are. Again, some people think of themselves and identify themselves according to their height. Like, oh, I'm respectable because I'm this type. I'm not respectable because I'm only 4'5", Or they'll look at their structure, their physical composition, and they'll really identify themselves as that. That is a lie. You have been, and I'm going to go over it more later and give you the verse, but you have been circumcised from your flesh. You are no longer the flesh. Before, it was just to identify yourself as the flesh, but now it is no longer truth. It is false, and it is a carnal way of seeing yourself. It's not how God sees you. God says, I don't see people, or Paul said, I don't see people according to the flesh anymore, but by the Spirit. Okay? And so that's the macro, the things you can see. The micro, which is the things you cannot see, are the hormones. A lot of times people identify themselves according to their hormones. Now this was important to Holy Spirit because it's another thought that holds itself up above the knowledge of God. Now, hormones influence emotions. Now some people have, more estrogen than testosterone. Some people have more testosterone than estrogen. The hormones, I'm mainly talking about is like estrogen, testosterone, epinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, etc. Now these are what, again, influence emotions. Some people are like, they identify themselves as how much estrogen they might have, or how much testosterone. Oh, I'm really manly, like I'm a leader because of these hormones, these attributes that I've been born with according to my DNA and my, biological composition. Yes, they do influence you, but again, they're not who you are. They do influence your life and your emotions, but don't identify yourself in any means according to hormones. I know it sounds crazy. I know maybe women might be able to relate to this more than men, but it's something that you should veer away from if you're identifying yourself as that.